Welcome to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein, talking about the evolutionary, the revolutionary, the inspiration and the perspiration, and those aha moments that change everything. And now, here's your host, Rich Goldstein.
Rich Goldstein here, host of the Innovations and Breakthroughs podcast, where I feature top leaders and the path they took to create change. Past guests include Joe Polish, Roland Frazier, and Zach Benson. This episode is brought to you by my company, Goldstein Patent Law, where we help you to protect your ideas and products. We've advised and obtained patents for thousands of companies over the past 27 years. So if you're a company that has software, a product, or a design you want protected, go to goldsteinpatentlaw.com, where there are amazing free resources for learning about the patent process. And you could email my team at welcome@goldsteinpc.com to explore if it's a match to work together. You could also check out the book I wrote for the American Bar Association that explains in plain English how patents work. It's called the ABA Consumer Guide to Obtaining a Patent. I have with me here today Glen Ledwell. If you ask Glen, he might describe himself as a serial entrepreneur. But the way I see it, he's more of a parallel entrepreneur because several of his ventures that he founded still exist and are still growing today. Among these, Glen founded or co-founded Mind Movies, JV Hacking, and the Flight Club Mastermind, which have collectively inspired and connected multitudes of people, both for fun and for profit. So I'm very pleased to welcome here today my friend, Glen Ledwell. Welcome, Glen.
Thanks, Rich. It's great to be here, mate.
Absolutely. And, we've seen each other at a lot of events. I mean, we're both, I think, very social people. Like, we enjoy meeting other entrepreneurs. I've gotten a little bit of your story, but as I understand it, you started out in the nightclub business. Do you want to tell me a bit about that?
Oh, well, yeah. How much do you want to know? Do you want to get right to the story where I had a car, 5 Samoans and a trunk load of shotguns in the trunk in front to protect ourselves from being basically killed or destroyed by a rival, not rival, but a big drug lord in Sydney? Or should we just end at that?
Yeah, I'm sure there've been lots of adventures, but I'm most curious about kind of like what got you started in the nightclub business, and then what did you create out of that? Yeah,
and really, all jokes aside, it's for the
moment we can come back. We could circle back to jokes in a minute or two.
But no, I really do. I wasn't aware of it as much at the time, but being in this industry for so long now, I've realized looking back that most of what I've learned about relationships, psychology, human behavior, emotion, as a marketer, that's paramount to know. And the most important thing is, how do you make people feel good? What emotion are people looking for when you're writing copy, creating a video, having a conversation? I really go back to those nightclub days when I kind of did this through necessity. What led me to that? I guess I was kind of always that guy, the social guy, probably like we still are today, but
yep.
I was the guy that knew knew the owner or the manager or the whatever. And my line to get into the club was usually longer than the main line to get into the club. So I was fairly connected in the, I guess you'd say, the nightclub social industry in Sydney in the early 90s. So it was just kind of a progression, too long a story to get into, but I ended up buying my own nightclub, setting up my own events company. I used to run big dance party style cruises, do one-off events, ended up buying a nightclub. I was the promoter, so I used to promote the night. And back then there was no social media. This is what I'd say. How good a promoter you are is how often you're out and how many people you know. If you weren't out all the time, socializing with people, you weren't a promoter. Of course, fast forward 10 years, all you needed was a good following on MySpace back in the day, or now it's obviously Instagram and Facebook. It's changed everything, but back then that's what it was, and it was very, very much so about what? Well, same thing, right? Forming relationships, making people feel good, which is all we do. How many quotes have you heard that is something like that? All you got to do is give people what they want to get more of what you want. Well, that's like make people feel good. What's the emotion they're looking for? 90% of the time, it's some type of validation. So during the nightclub times, I used to work on my own door. I did that for years. It was very dangerous. I used to have death threats all the time. Whole nother story. But it was so important to me to not just connect with the people, but have the right people in the club. Again, there's so many similarities woven in here. But what I learned very quickly was what I just said. I mean, what's my job? Oh, I'm the nightclub owner. I'm the guy. Like, you know, it kind of made me uncomfortable that people thought I was this rock star because I owned a percentage of a nightclub. But I very quickly got comfortable with it and realized it was my role, and realized my job was professional handshaker, back slapper. What does that mean? Make people feel good, validate them on the way in. So this was a big lesson about that. And then managing different personalities. This really taught me a lot about psychology and particularly human behavior. Like, I was dealing from everyone but the party guys. I was dealing with doormen with big egos, DJs with big egos. People in that whole industry are pretty flaky. Then you're dealing with cops, corrupt cops, bikies, drug lords, every other type of gangster. And you had to try to keep all of these people at arm's length, but still friends, but not too friends because then they owe you. So I really learn a lot about how to deal with people.
And how to manage relationships.
How to manage it, and exactly, not just how to manage a relationship, how to manage multiple, like I give the extreme of the nightclub kid to the drag queen, talk about extreme personalities, but that, how to connect and form relationships was how you make people feel good. What do they want? What do they want? Make them feel good. That was really, there was a lot of lessons through that, but that's, I always think back on that. It was probably my biggest learning experience when it comes, not just as a business person, there was a lot of that, but more the human behavior, the marketing, the relationship part. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so I kind of want to skip over mind movies. And I'll just say about mind movies, like not to discount what you've done there. You've created $60 million of online sales, but I'm fascinated between the connection between the nightclub business and the JV hacking empire that you created. Kind of like, because it just seems like a natural tie-in where you have, you've taken those lessons about relationships, about people, and you've kind of systematized it and used it to teach people how to create their own set of relationships, not necessarily with the drug lords and the corrupt cops. Thank God. Yeah. But you've taught them how to create other joint ventures. And so, I guess let's talk about that tie-in.
Yeah, so really it's funny. We're not really skipping over mind movies at all, because it was mind movies that how I actually came to realize all these things. And I'll just kind of give you the bullet points in that. When I got into mind movies, we're talking like, geez, this was 2007. Moved out here to the US in 2008. But I wasn't technical. I still can't type. So if there's anyone who's a technophobe out there, believe me, you don't need to be technical. So I felt very at a big disadvantage. So I was like, oh, what do I know how to do? I can write a one-line email that take me 10 minutes, get people on the phone and connect. I knew how to talk to people. Okay, I can do that. But I was like very intimidated. I'm like, I don't know anything here. Fast forward a year, why did we have such huge success? It was because I got people on the phone. I met with them when I could, through necessity. Kind of glad that I couldn't type, to be honest, because I feel like even today people hide behind their computer, hide behind their, especially now. I mean, 10 years ago it was bad. Now it's unbelievable. And it's not that it's all bad. It's people less and less realize that nothing's changed with relationships. Yeah, you can have kind of a relationship through text. You can kind of. You can't have a real relationship. It's never going to be any different, But I think now more and more of society, and we're so used to it, people are becoming less and less likely to actually actually have a conversation. So honestly, a lot of the stuff I teach is a lot of those fundamentals that I think people either don't know or they've forgotten or think it's changed. But yeah, really how the mind movie story started, I didn't know anything else to do. So what I realized over the first year or two, I was following amazing programs like Product Launch Formula, and Frank Kern was one of my mentors, and, how to do the actual stuff. But I realized, there was a gap. I just had a few ideas on how to motivate people, how to get people to actually get back to you, how to get them to do what they say. And if you've ever done a launch or any kind of joint ventures, anyone who's listening knows what I'm talking about. Someone saying, yes, I'll do that is 5% of it. You've got to motivate them. So I just, in my mind, over 10 years, developed this system where I would reach out to them, months out, and then I'd have a system where I'd follow them up again, and then I'd follow them up again, and different things in different way, in a cool way, not too pushy, but a little bit pushy. You've got to be a little bit pushy. But, really getting out of my comfort zone, big time getting out of my comfort zone, doing videos, which I was very uncomfortable to do back then. And I basically developed this system because that's all I knew what to do with mind movies was, we just exploded back then. And it was literally $0 to $6 million in volume in the first 3 years using nothing else but joint ventures. So it's like, I don't obviously say that to brag. That would be difficult to do now, today. But it wasn't like I didn't think I was, all that. That's all I knew how to do. Now, thank goodness, we know how to do a few other things as well. But yeah, so finally, years and years and years and years later, my now business partner, Ridgely Goldsborough, kind of convinced me into writing a book with him. And it was on all these principles. Writing the book, we then created a course, and then, he really recognized this system that you do to leading up to a launch, during a launch, motivating people, getting your team what to do and when to do it. And he said, have you ever taught that? And I'm like, no, it's just kind of in my head. So out of that, we created 60 critical tasks. And of course, we have all kinds of information on trainings on that. And we have an automated software to do that now. So that's kind of the short story version where we got to where I created this just in the last few years.
All right, cool. And so I just want to kind of tie it in together now with Flight Club also, in that so Flight Club is a mastermind. It's a group of people that get together several times a year to learn from each other, to share kind of what works for them, and of course you bring in speakers for that event too, and then and to have fun. And,
sure.
And so it's a it's all about connecting people together, right? And so between Flight Club and the JV hacking educational programs you created and software, you connect people, you bring people together, and I think people that have ideas, people that want to launch something, usually they're starting with not all of the resources that they need, whether it's not all of the money that they need. It's not the distribution that they need. Maybe there's someone that they need to cooperate with to make the thing a reality. So a big part of it, like a real key for them, can be joint ventures and getting good at connecting and joint ventures. So maybe we can do just a few minutes on some of the fundamentals of what makes connecting work, what makes joint ventures work. Could we do that?
Totally. Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. Obviously, I'm kind of, I am that person that did that because, like I just explained, I didn't know how to do anything else. And look, I'm not saying, joint ventures is the only way to, do your business. But what I do say and do know is it's the least risk, most cost-effective way to get traffic for your business, without question. People say, you pay 50% commission or whatever. I call it free. If you're paying for a lead or not even a lead, a sale after you've made a sale, to me, that's free money. Yeah. It doesn't matter what the percentage is. If you've got to buy
anything without any results, you don't have to invest in like $1 setting something up and then maybe not getting any results. You pay at the same time that results are generated, and therefore
Exactly.
it's just a cost. It's a variable cost. It's a cost of getting the lead, and essentially you could say it's free because it didn't cost you any overhead.
No, and that's what I mean. Obviously, it's not free, but I have that discussion with people. Well, it's not really free. I go, well, let's agree on risk free.
There's no overhead. There's no like, let me spend some money on something and then hope that it works.
If it works,
you're only spending money if it worked.
Yeah, the thing is, you're getting, and there's a whole thing that comes into this. You're getting the person that's promoting you to take all the risk, 100% of the risk for you, so that to then send you money, and then after they send you money, you then give them some money back. I mean, that's in the simplest way. I think it's if you're starting out, particularly, even if you're not, I mean, if you don't have it as a pillar in your business, it's obviously a great pillar, but particularly starting out, which is why I now teach it, is because it's exactly what I did. You know, I didn't know how to do anything else. Now, it's one of the things that's really simple but not easy. I mean, most things in business are. You've got to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. You've got to talk to people on the phone. You've got to actually form relationships. So it's not that there's no work. There's absolutely a lot of work in it. But, you know, like I said, if you don't have a lot of money or a skill set in other types of media, which most people when they start out don't, I just see it as one of the best ways to get going. You know, everyone's got a few people on Facebook or Instagram, or people like, I don't have a list. Well, there's many, many ways that you can reach people, you know, which we can get into that as well, if you like, you know?
Yeah. And just as an example, right? Like as like a tangible example, like, well, how well can this work? So of the $60 million in sales you've generated online through Mind Movies, half of it, 30 million, came through this type of joint venture system.
Absolutely.
Type of affiliate marketing, I guess you might say.
Yeah. And you know what? For the first 5 years, I don't know what the numbers would have been. It would have been 85% of all of our revenue came from that, you know, and it's just, we, you know, learned how to and had a bit more money and whatever, used to learn how to do other mediums. And now we do all, and, you know, the joint ventures part's probably a third now, you know, which is great, you know.
Which is really interesting because it's a little counterintuitive. It's kind of the opposite of what people would think. People would think like, oh, once you make it to a certain level, then you can partner with people. Right. And you're saying that it's a way to get started and it's kind of like you said in the beginning, it was like 85% of your business. And so essentially when you didn't have the capital to invest in other lead generation, you were doing it through joint ventures. So again, counterintuitive. It's not that you need to get to a certain size or certain respectability for people to want to do business with you. It's that you can start out this way by doing things the right way. Correct? Yeah,
and no, absolutely. But there's a lot of caveats in there, and a lot of the stuff I teach is what not to do. You know, when you're
typical,
yeah, right.
Results are not typical, you know.
Yeah,
affiliate marketing.
No, but truly, it's you know, starting out. But like, I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea and go, oh, I can just put an offer up.
Disclaimer on the spot there.
Yeah. But you know, I don't have to test anything. I can just put a page up and reach out to people and ask them to promote it. Absolutely.
But the lesson is there, though, just in general for people and collaboration, that like there's a lot to be gained by creating relationships and working with other people, finding people who have similar interests or kind of complementary interests that fit together like lock and key, where there is something more to be gained by working together than not. So just developing those skills could help you tremendously, whether it's directly affiliate marketing that you make money from. It's those skills can just help you to get some traction.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's the best way I like to explain it, though, if we're talking about starting out tonight, Jeff Walker, I'm sure, invented this phrase, but he calls it A, B, C, and D level JV partners or affiliates. And, you know, it's not derogatory or anything, but it's just a really good way. I wish I knew it when I very first started out. But basically, it's like you come into and this is the way you can start, which is why I want to explain this. You've created a product, you've got a website or some way to sell it. You maybe have a small list, or maybe you have no list. Maybe you have just a following on Facebook. You don't know how to test or do any of this kind of things. You don't even really understand what EPCs and all this kind of thing means yet. But you can still form relationships, with other similar levels. I was doing this without knowing this. When you're a D or even a C-level affiliate, you'll find other Ds. They don't care about all this stuff. Do you send me some traffic? I'll send you some traffic. No one's, the EPC wasn't high enough. It's just about building that up. And the thing with it is, D levels always know C levels. When you get to a C, C's always knows B's and B's always know A's. So the thing is what not to do. Don't try to reach out to A and B level affiliates when you're a D. It's just a waste of your time and their time. They're going to say, well, what are your numbers? What's your EPC? What's your average conversion? You're going to go, And unfortunately, the mistake a lot of people make is they kind of make it up, which is obviously the worst thing you can do when your business is based on relationships, to burn it before you even
easiest way to burn a bridge is to
burn it immediately.
In a lie, right?
And it happens a lot. It really does happen a lot. Which again, why it's important to teach this kind of stuff on how to get started and how to move through those stages. But I mean, I went from a D to an A in probably a year and a half, which is pretty unheard of, to be honest. But it just shows how quickly you can do that.
Some people say you're still a bit of a D, but I think you're a great guy.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's not, like I said, it's not even, it's basically the people with the biggest business and the biggest lists that have been around at least a few years. Well, they can be an A. The B is just one bit below that. And a C is kind of in between, a little bit more about testing and, a little bit about, I mean, it's like I said, it's not, but the main lesson is why I'm explaining it like this. I wasted months of my time as a D. Maybe I was nearly a C, but I was certainly a D or a C, reaching out to A's. Now, I had no business doing that. Yeah. I just wasted so much time being all arse hurt because no one got back to me.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like just like moving it over into the product space, for example. It's like someone might have an idea for something related to soft drinks. And they're like, who do you know that can get me into Coca-Cola?
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing.
Right. So it's like trying to connect with the A's.
What about the little corner store guy that you can just do a deal with direct? What about talking to that guy?
Or there's some small software companies, like not software, soft drink companies. There's some small companies that are like a few $1 million worth of revenue that are looking for something that's going to help bring them to the next level. So it's
exactly the same.
The people that are hungrier, it's like the B's and the C's are hungrier. And that plays into it too, right?
Absolutely. And, I think it's a good progression to the next biggest mistake. And when I say everyone makes, I made it. That's how I know. You reach out to the wrong people when you're starting out and you talk about the wrong things. What's the wrong thing? I'll use mine as an example. Mind Movies was my first product. In my mind, it's the greatest product in the world. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant. In my mind, it complements everybody else's product. There's nothing else like it. So what would I reach out and say to people? I have this most amazing program. Your people are going to love. Oh, I'll pay you a commission. Everything wrong. Everything wrong. Because what we get so attached to our own products that we think that's what people now what should I have been selling and what should you sell? When I'm trying to bring on a partner or an affiliate, they really don't care about my product. And when I say don't care, doesn't mean, of course, it's got to be good. That's a given. It's got to be good. It's got to do what it says. Don't talk to anyone if you don't have those things. But what are you selling? They're not going to buy your product. They're going to promote your product. So you're selling what? How smart you are. You might be fluffing their ego a little bit. You might be saying, hey, your list will love this for these reasons. It's a great fit. That's a throwaway. but my EPCs are this. This is why you should listen to me. I've done this launch. I've done this. Why should you listen to me as a marketer? In other words, why can you trust me? Because remember, they're taking all the risk. So you see what I'm saying? It's completely different.
There's a different set of things that they have their attention on,
100%,
than your product, and it's about kind of who are you and how and why could they trust you?
Why should I trust?
That's what you need to focus on.
Yep.
And then once you create the relationship, then you can get to the product and
totally. Of course, the product's got to be a fit. I mean, obviously those things. So I don't want people to misunderstand that, but you just got to realize what you're selling. Right. And I see this time and time again. People are trying to sell you their product where it should be the throwaway. It should be, this is a great fit for your audience because X, Y, Z, and then everything that's important to that person. And if you're starting out and you don't have a list and you don't really have currency, I call it, try and do something else. Say, hey, look, I don't have much of a list, but I'd be prepared to pay you a minimum per click. I'd be prepared to reciprocate in some way. I'd be prepared to pay you 100% commission. I have these numbers or I don't have these numbers. There's a lot of ways you can get creative with the deal. But people go, oh, I'm new. I can't really get started because I don't have anything to offer. You've got to get creative and think.
Yeah, and you could find out what they need. What they need
Absolutely.
might not be anything that you anticipated. It might be something that you actually can easily provide.
Another great strategy too, which worked on me beautifully years and years ago, is a guy reached out to me and he actually had a Facebook agency of some kind. But anyway, the point is this. He said to me, this is probably 10, 11 years ago. He said to me, oh, Glenn, do you know John Assaraf? I said, well, obviously know who he is, but I go, I don't. He's in our industry, obviously. And I said, we've never actually met. We both live in San Diego. Oh, okay. Do you want me to connect you? Great. What do you think you did to John? Hey, John, do you want to meet Glenn from Mind Movies? Oh, I obviously know who they are, but we've never met. We met and formed a relationship from that. What I found out a year or two later, that's how this guy built his whole business. I thought he was the most connected guy in the world, because he connected me with someone who really I should have been connected with. And so what he did, he looked at people who he wanted to do business with, found out who they wanted to be connected to, and did exactly what I thought it was the most brilliant strategy I've ever heard. Like you just said, Rich, What do people want? I tell you what, affiliate marketers want more affiliates, So, that's a pretty good one, whatever they want.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay. So then, now in terms of the joint ventures and JV hacking, like you've got, I think you've got a page that you set up, and just as a little example of this, like example of how this works with affiliate marketing, we decided to set up a page, jvhacking.com/rich, not because I'm expecting to get rich from it, but
rich.
I'm curious to see how it works. Like I'm curious to see if some of my audience goes to your page to learn some things about joint venture hacking. So
well, if that's basically what that page is directing you to, a special link for you, and it's a webinar registration, and it's a training that Mike Filsame and I did. And very, very informative. If you're interested, basically, Mike, for, I don't know, an hour to 90 minutes, I can't remember how long, basically just interviews me. And I mean, he knows as much as anybody in the industry about this kind of stuff.
Well, Mike is the genius behind Webinar Jam, right?
Yeah, Webinar Jam. I mean, Groove Digital is his company now, which is a whole nother level. But yeah, if you're interested in this kind of learning more about this, it's totally free. Just go there, register, and you can go through the training. Of course, at the end of the training, you'll have an opportunity to buy our course and software and whatnot, but it's incredibly affordable. But if nothing else, it's very, very, very good training if you're interested in that. So
cool. Absolutely. And by the way, it just occurred to me, I need to have Mike on this program.
Yeah.
that he created. Yeah. So, coming soon.
Yeah, there you go.
Mike Phil saying, but yeah.
Well, I'll obviously go ahead and connect you because that's what we do, Rich.
We're both connectors and we connect people. And so if people want to learn more about you or get in touch with you, how do they go about doing so?
Look, I'm very accessible. I mean, you can find me through mindmovies.com. If you want to find a little bit about us and our story, Facebook, Instagram. Like I said, I'm very, very accessible. Find me on Instagram or Facebook. It's really easy. Like I said, mindmovies.com, jvhacking.com, any of those, you can absolutely find me.
Yep, absolutely. And if you want to check out JV Hacking, go to jvhacking.com/rich, because we want to run this little experiment here and see how many people go over there and check it out.
Yeah. And like I said, just enjoy the training, if nothing else.
No, absolutely. And thank you for putting that together, by the way.
Oh, no worries. My absolute pleasure.
And cool. And of course, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and looking forward to seeing you at some events in the near future.
For sure. Glad to be here, Rich. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web at innovationsandbreakthroughs.com, and we'll see you next time.